Yeah, and just noticing what it feels like when the eyelids are closed in this way. Feeling, sensing through this area of the body. Noticing if you're squinting, if there's any tension maybe around this area. Sometimes we're forcing the eyes to close and can generate a little bit of tension around this area. And so just noticing that, noticing, becoming aware of any tension around the eye area. And then starting here, allowing your attention to expand a little bit. Noticing the rest of the face. Noticing if there's any tension or tightness around the face. Today we're going to be practicing the 5 A's of the heart, which is called sometimes 5 A's of the heart or 5 A's of adult relationships. And so just allowing yourself to fully arrive. As your attention spans from the eye area and the face, is allowing it to come down to the neck and the throat. Noticing again if there's any tension in any of these areas. And again, there's an invitation to let go of the tension, but it's not really a demand. So if the body is still holding on to tension after you visit these areas, that's okay. Meeting it where it is. Accepting that that's what the moment is bringing in this moment. And if there is no change, then just allowing it for now. It will change on its own. Everything changes eventually. That's our only constant. And so now just noticing the shoulders, another area where we hold much tension and tightness. And the invitation to drop the shoulders, to soften. And then just noticing the arms, maybe how they're positioned in relation to the body. Are they resting on your lap? Are they on your sides? How are the hands and the wrist positioned in this moment? And then just moving to the upper trunk area, noticing the lungs. You might be able to notice them expanding on the in-breath and contracting on the out-breath. You might even notice the heartbeat right here. And again, these are just words, suggestions. If you don't notice anything, that's absolutely okay too. Just noticing the absence of sensation. And then seeing if your back is in contact with the surface holding you. Noticing if there's any tension around that. Sometimes we're resisting the surface, the body is tense in this area. Just noticing that and seeing if you can allow the surface to hold you, the body to feel super supported here by the surface holding you. Just allowing the body to safely sink into the surface, being fully supported by the earth beneath, gravity keeping you in place. There's not much you have to do. Everything is working for you right now. This body is here. The surface is supporting you. Noticing if your feet are on the ground or not. Maybe they're in contact with the body. But this body is fully supported by the earth. So seeing if you can just let go of any need to control, any need to have things be a certain way. Just letting it all go, all fall into the background. Noticing the same act of letting go, noticing what it feels like to let go of control, to allow in this sustained attention in this moment. Bringing a sense of deep acceptance right now. And maybe taking a deeper inhale, so inhaling deeper than normal, whatever you can do. And then just allowing the breath to come out in a long, long exhale. Letting all the air out of the body. Allowing the breath to go right out into the world. Stepping away from time, stepping away from anything that might be taking you right now from this moment. Trusting that I am here, keeping track of our time. I am here supporting you, and everybody else that's here is supporting you in this moment. Seeing if you can just let go. Nothing to do, nowhere to be right now than here with your own experience. So for the next maybe minute or two, just noticing the breath and noticing the flow of the breath. Seeing if you can feel the breath in the body. Where do you feel it the most? And staying with this part of the body, bringing curiosity to it, without changing the breath, without controlling it, just noticing it. allowing your attention to rest right here in the breath. And it's normal for the mind to distract away, to tell stories. Whenever you notice that, just coming right back to allowing your attention to just rest here, full attention on the breath. Just revisit the first A of the heart, attention. Noticing what it feels like for you to pay attention to yourself in this way, to give yourself all the attention, to be the center of attention within yourself right now. Noticing this body, paying attention to the sensations in the body, the breath, any emotions that might come up, any thoughts that might take you from the moment. The act of paying attention without judgment, paying attention with kindness. What is your immediate reaction when you notice the mind wandering? Is your reaction kind? Is it supportive of what you're trying to do here? The invitation to kindly score your attention right back to yourself right now. Maybe your feet on the ground, the palms of your hands, the coolness or the warmth of the body in this moment. Just noticing what's your experience right now. If you're noticing tension or tightness, is it okay to pay attention to that for a moment? If there's discomfort in the body, what is your immediate reaction to it? Is it okay to welcome kindness and curiosity? Are there any underlying emotions right now that are calling for attention? Is there anything here that's calling you to attend to? And what is your attitude towards your reaction, towards your emotions? Is it a reactivity? Is it a pushing away or suppressing? Without judgment, just noticing, becoming aware. How do you relate to yourself? Paying attention to you right now. Instead of noticing the narrative, what you might think you need. Instead, just noticing, allowing the body to speak through sensation, allowing the emotions. Noticing the thoughts that come and go. Noticing your breath. Now I invite you to bring into mind a being that you experience ease and love towards. Just it could be a pet, it could be any being in the world, it could be a plant, a tree, it could be a person, someone that even the thought of them makes you smile. Anyone. It could be a fictional character, a spiritual being. Noticing what it's like to pay attention to this being. What is it like to attend to them? Allowing your attention to rest on that, on the connection. Noticing everything about this being. What do you become when you truly pay attention to them? And is this attention, does it have an underlying judgment? Is it judgmental? Is it kind? Just noticing. Noticing your experience towards that. Noticing that a judgment can also be overemphasizing goodness. Just noticing if you can see them for what they are without glorifying them, without looking at their faults, just paying attention to their being. As you pay attention, allow your attention to rest here without judgment. Just allowing for a sense of acceptance to nurture this relationship. This is the second A of the heart, acceptance. Now seeing if you can turn that acceptance towards yourself, towards all the parts of your being, all the parts that make you. Noticing who you become when you're experiencing a joyful moment and accepting that. And noticing who you become when you're in a fearful moment, when fear is present. Perhaps a need to control. So perhaps becoming agitated, controlling, whatever it might be for you. And accepting that with kindness. Now noticing who you become when anger is present, frustration. And accepting that. And noticing that underlying quality of acceptance that just means becoming aware of, bringing curiosity to it. And then the second part of acceptance is taking action. So once you notice who you become in these different states, when these different energies are present, and noticing how you would like to respond. That is the active part of acceptance. Now, with this acknowledgement, expanding this acknowledgement to someone else, a partner to be, the aspiration of the partner that you might not have in this moment. What would it be like to be accepting of them? Noticing clearly when there's time to set limits within that acceptance. So acknowledging who they are, moment to moment. Noticing with curiosity who they become during these moments. And then noticing your response to it. Taking a deeper than normal breath, exhaling long. I'm going to move on to the third A, appreciation. What are some things that you appreciate about yourself? Tuning in towards yourself now and noticing. What do you appreciate towards yourself? Is there anything that comes to mind that brings you a sense of gratitude? And now just bringing into mind some qualities that you would appreciate in that partner. Maybe a partner you already have or a partner that you might want to have. What are some things that you would deeply appreciate or that you appreciate in them right now? Noticing how this appreciation is attached to a sense of gratitude for these things. And as you get this sense, you tap into the sense of appreciation, of gratitude, just noticing, checking in with your body. What do you become when you're appreciative of their qualities? How does that feel for you? Moving on to the fourth A, affection. Maybe taking a deeper breath than normal, allowing the out breath to be long, emptying those lungs and emptying that belly. Just noticing what comes up for you when this word is mentioned, affection. What does it look like for you? Noticing the qualities of affection, emotional, spiritual, physical. And then seeing how you bring those qualities onto yourself. What are some ways that you can display affection towards yourself? Is it a holding? Is it a curiosity? Is it a sense of being? And noticing how affection has an underlying acceptance, underlying appreciation, and attention. They're all contained here. And now bringing into mind that significant other, if you have one, and if not, the significant other to be, or a close friend that you're in relationship with. And just noticing this affectionate way of being. How do you understand affection? What does that look like for you? How do you receive it? What are some things that you need? Just getting some clarity around this. And the last day is allowing. What is it about yourself that you're not allowing? Is that a part of yourself maybe that is not allowed very often? What does it look like when you allow? And this can even go into allowing voice. Allowing yourself to set limits. Just bringing into mind somebody that you might be in relationship with or a partner that you wish to have. And noticing this sense of allowing. Often in relationship, this is counteracted with a sense of controlling. What does it look like to allow somebody to just be? Whenever you're ready, taking in a deeper than normal breath, exhaling long. And seeing if you can just come back to the breath for a moment, noticing your breathing, sensing in the body. Noticing the palms of your hands, the bottom of your feet. Thich Nhat Hanh, in his poem Interrelationship, said, "You are me and I am you. Isn't it obvious that we inter are? You cultivate the flower in yourself so that I will be beautiful. I transform the garbage in myself so that you will not have to suffer. I support you, you support me. I am in this world to offer you peace. You are in this world to bring me joy." And so, whenever you're ready and at your own pace, maybe allowing the body to move, allowing for a sense of alertness and attentiveness to this moment. Maybe the body needs to stretch a little bit from side to side. So just allowing for that movement. Yeah. And whenever you're ready, you can allow the eyes to open at your own pace whenever you're ready and just noticing what you see. Really paying attention to the space you're inhabiting right now. Noticing behind and seeing what the body needs. If you need to stand, then standing and stretching, moving, whatever you need at this moment. So this practice was inspired by a book that came out a while ago. It's called How to Be an Adult in Relationships by David Richo, and he talks about these 5 A's. So that it was kind of like interesting to see if we could do an exploration of these A's and to experience what it feels like to actually embody these words, right? Also, it the way the book is kind of written in some ways is the knowing what is it that we really want in a relationship, right? And in my own perspective and opinion, that comes from really knowing ourselves really well. So knowing what all these different A's mean to us, how do we relate to ourselves, right? How am I when there's attention? How am I relating to even attention? So how do I pay attention to someone, right? In our mindfulness practice, we're constantly kind of developing this attention muscle, right? How am I paying attention, being present, allowing our attention to rest in our experience? But in relationship, attention also means noticing how I am when I'm in proximity with another. And that's what we actually practice here in our informal practice, right? When we're in experience with another. And so as I pay attention to my own experience, I'm paying attention to my emotions, to my thoughts, to any tightness in my body and so forth. And I'm also paying attention to the person or the being or who I'm in contact with, right? What am I in relationship with at that moment? And noticing if I am also giving that other person the attention needed, right? I find, for instance, that when I'm in close relationship, like the person that you're with every day, even family members, I notice that I'm not as good as paying attention to my own experience. It takes me a while to kind of catch on and go like, oh wait, I've been speaking too long, or I am not being supportive. I'm not paying attention to. I'm more into my own needs, right? And that happens when we're in close relationships. Sometimes, it's much easier sometimes to pay attention and to be in a more centered way when we're around people that we don't know than when we're in our regular life every day with people that we see every day. And so, but another thing that is important about this aspect of attention is how do I feel when somebody gives me attention, right? How do I take attention? Do I suck it all in and want more? Do I cling to attention? What's my relationship to attention? So that's a thing that we can explore as well in this today in this practice. How do I relate to attention? Usually, uh, even including myself, people that go into a serving a field, caretakers, caregivers, usually are people that need to give, right? To give attention to others constantly. Sometimes it could be hard for us to receive attention. We're not wired that way. Sometimes we're used to taking care of others constantly, and that could be really exhausting. So really noticing that fine line of the relationship of attention, and where you are in it. Am I in this always others first and I don't count, me last? Or am I in the group of it's all about me, I need the attention, you need to see me all the time, you need to pay attention to me, right? Really noticing and finding a good balance for you, what works for you. There's no right, there's no wrong, it's just what works for you and what works in your relationship, right? So noticing if maybe you are with somebody that's 100% a giver, right? And that just gives you all the attention all the time, and seeing what it's like to give attention back. So playing with that could be really interesting. So the second one is acceptance, right? And now in relationship, acceptance speaks of seeing the other, seeing that other person, or the person that we want to, with kindness. So if you're not in relationship right now, but you're applying this to a friend or to somebody that you're close with, or if you're using this, this teaching to maybe have some clear idea of who you want, in a relationship, that could be also a good way of seeing this. Like, how am I in this acceptance? Do I hold myself in compassion? And again, it starts with me, right? Um, how I relate to myself, how much I accept myself, is going to really touch how I relate to others. It's deeply connected. It's deeply connected. So noticing when I become judgmental of myself, right? Do I have the voice of that strict caretaker, right? The school teacher, maybe, or the parent that's very strict. Do I have that voice with me, or am I kind to myself, right? So really holding myself with tenderness. And in the same way in relationship, how do I hold myself when I'm in relationship with another, right? How do I relate to that person? Who do I become when I'm with them? Are my words judgmental? Am I constantly seeing what's wrong with them? Am I constantly paying more attention to what they might be doing that is not right? Am I constantly thinking like, well, I wish they were this way, or I wish they were happy, or I wish they were that? And seeing where that comes from for you. Is there a need there, right? And so when we see somebody and we accept who they are, we're not saying that we are accepting behaviors. We're not saying that. We're just saying that we're able to see the person as they are without needing to control them, to change them, right? And whatever it is that is coming into our awareness, we're kind of turning it in and seeing like, what does that mean for me? A really quick example that I can give you is just a couple of days ago, I was having a conversation with my husband, and we're vegans. We don't eat any animal products. We haven't eaten animal products for a long time, but we had the opportunity of going to this one place that only serves mainly serves seafood and fish and things like that. And my husband made a joke, and he's like, "Wow, this place has the best fish. I might just try it." And something in me just did not settle right. It's like, oh, I was in shock. I was like, what? Why? And again, it was my own need. I mean, it's again the control, right? Maybe what does that mean? So I had to sit with that for a little bit and explore that. What does that mean? Right? Why was it that shock of yeah, it was surprising. I give it that, but it wasn't really something that I could control anyway. And so again, accepting, right? It's every moment, and it comes from the conversations we have with someone, with how we see them, our expectations of them. So all these things come into acceptance. And again, let me be very clear that acceptance doesn't mean that we're accepting behaviors that are, hostile or cruel, or that are just not kind, right? So there is a good set of limits in there too with acceptance, but it's more about noticing with us, like, what's that about? And do I need to set a limit here, right? So, but first I have to see what is happening. I have to be clear about what is happening so that I can do something about it. So that's acceptance. And then the third one, appreciation, right? Having a sense of appreciation for oneself. How many times a day do you notice things that are great about you, that you truly appreciate? How many times a day do you notice Though often we're grateful about things. Oh, I'm grateful I have this. I'm grateful I have that. I'm grateful of that. But about you, how do you appreciate yourself? What does that look like? Bringing that sense of gratitude. And then that again, is going to meet the other. It's going to meet who you're in relationship with. So, what are some things that you appreciate about them, right? And as we were doing this meditation today, I thought for some reason at this moment I thought about my puppy, my dog child, and I appreciate her so much. She's just like the sweetest thing ever. And but when I had her image in my mind at that moment, my mind went into like, wow, she needs a bath. So, the default of the mind is seeing what is missing. And it's not that that's not going to happen. The mind is going to do that, but it's catching ourselves, noticing, and then going back to like, oh, that's not what I'm doing. I'm looking at how sweet she is, how tender, and then noticing all those qualities. But we can only see in others what we see in ourselves. And so it starts with you. It starts with me every day noticing, what is it about myself? What was it about today that I really appreciate? You know? Maybe there was a moment of courage. Maybe there was a moment of patience with someone. Maybe, um, I often have this conversation with my husband, and, we have this like, I'm really surprised myself today. I did this, which is out of the ordinary, or I did that. And so this is kind of something that can foster this appreciation, this sense of gratitude. So the next one is affection. And affection, again, is a combination of attention. I mean, you can't have affection unless you're paying attention, unless you're accepting, and unless you have appreciation for someone, right? So there's three things that are already contained in there. And this is according to Psychology Today, an article that I was reading a few days back. And it was saying that, this, and it kind of makes sense, right? Affection includes these three different um, attitudes: attention, acceptance, and appreciation. So um, it really, but it also requires some direct behaviors to show us the proof of these things, right? Affection can be emotional, as I was saying, can be spiritual, can be physical. Often, at least for me, when I hear the word affection, I often think more of a touch, right? Affection, a hug, or a holding of a hand. But it could be emotional too. We can be very affectionate emotionally and spiritually. And so, again, in our own experience, am I supportive of myself? Am I a supportive friend for me? Do I hold my emotions with tenderness, right? So, do I give myself a hug when I need it? What is the voice that plays in my head? Do I notice when I'm being judgmental of myself or too hard on myself, right? And so, again, the more I do this towards myself, the more I'm going to be able to do it with others, right? And now I can see now, because I'm fostering these qualities, if I am looking for that special partner, maybe that I don't have, now I know what it feels like to be supportive. I know what it feels like to be affectionate emotionally, spiritually. And now I know what to look for. Now I know the things that I want. So it brings clarity. And when I'm with somebody, if you're already in relationship, really noticing these things. How am I in relationship to this person? Am I supportive? Am I affectionate? And I'm using these terms interchangeably, supportive and affectionate. They're not the same, but it kind of calls for me, it brings this word of support for some reason. So it might be different for you. And then the last one is allowing, right? Allowing. Um, and I guess it brings a sense of being who I am moment to moment. Am I allowing myself? Am I holding back? Am I suppressing? Right? Am I allowing? And that doesn't mean that I'm going to burst into screaming out to everybody when I'm angry. That's not what it means. It means more of a self knowledge of really noticing, this is what's happening, and I'm allowing it. I'm with what's happening right now. I am. It starts with me always. I am with my pain. I am with my anger. I'm turning that friendly way towards it. I'm becoming friends with what's happening in this moment. So the simply knowledge of who I am and to seeing my truth. That's what it means, seeing really who I am, seeing my truth, and letting things be. In the same way, when I'm in the presence of another, do I have an expectation of how they should be at all times? Or am I allowing, right? Am I allowing that they are their own person? Am I allowing who they are? Am I loving them for who they are? I could say, right? But again, these things are just things to explore, noticing how they land for you, noticing what it feels like for you to really notice these things, and to see if maybe some of the expectations are really high and they're not really coming from within. Often we're expecting others to be a certain way, but we are not that way ourselves, you know. And this could be, for instance, it could relate to being with a partner that maybe doesn't work very well with anger or with sadness. And maybe my expectations is they should be happy or that they shouldn't be angry, right? So again, what is that for me? What does it do when they're in this way, right? So noticing when these emotions, when these energies are present, and see what is it for me, and then seeing, how can I work with this in acceptance, right? So yeah, that's all I wanted to share with you today. I hope that some of it resonates with you. It really spoke to me when I was exploring this ace, and it could be like a little roadmap in relationship, I think, as well. That's kind of how I see it. So yeah, thank you for